Hello, everyone, and welcome to this special edition of Wine, Women, and Words. And with me today, because it's actually daylight while we're shooting this as opposed to nighttime when we're usually doing it, is Trish Nelson, who is, hi, nice to have you.
So great to be here.
And Trisha, you are the producer and a writer for the Secret Sisterhood Society.
It's the Secret Society of the Sisterhood, and I'm the host and the creator and the producer and the writer. I am the Secret Society of the Sisterhood.
You are our leader, our coven leader, I suppose we should say.
My child that I birthed.
So before we get started, what are you drinking today? Because yes, it is day and we are day drinking. We encourage that here.
I'm drinking a Malbec and it's delicious.
Nice. Malbecs are really hit or miss for me.
Really? Well, I like.
Yeah, some I really love. Some are just like too sweet, I think. I
like viscous, heavy reds. I would be drinking an Amarone if I could. I can't because they're like $80. So.
Yeah, we do love the more affordable wines here. Yeah, we are not above $2 chuck, to be quite honest.
I always try to do the between 10 and 20. If I'm doing like a $19 wine, I feel very fancy.
Yeah, same here. Same here. Like the Wink bottle that I've got today was the one I opened on Thursday's show, Rogue Admiral, with the guy with the graffiti all over his face. This one's a $13 bottle of wine. So ever since I started doing Wink, I feel much fancier because they're actually like, their cheap bottles are $13. So I'm like, I'm sophisticated now. Oh, yeah. I'm not just drinking $2 chuck. And it's a neat program because there's no monthly payments. You can hold it for a month or two or keep going as much as you want. And, you know, with bottles starting at $13, and they do recommendations based on what you like. So you don't have to wonder about which wines you like and spend a bunch of money on a wine that turns out to be gross.
Right.
Yeah. So they help it out. They make it fun, just like we try to do here with literature and other life stuff. And if you guys want to give it a shot, you can go to trywink.com/www podcast, and you can get $22 off your first order of Wink.
What?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, because we're givers.
It is true. We are.
We are, yes. So let me make sure I have it correct because there's so many S's that I just change it around and make up new titles for your show every chance I get. It's a Society of the Sisterhood, correct?
Society of the Sisterhood, yes.
Well, yeah, we'll just go with Society of the Sisterhood. How did it get started?
Well, I had been working in New York as a producer for live shows, and I've been doing a bunch of literary salons. A bunch by one. I've been doing one literary salon called Women of Letters. I helped to build that brand here, and that's a brand from Australia. Here in the States, I helped to build that. And the creators of that show are these incredible women. One is the artistic director of the Melbourne Writers Fest. The other is the artistic director of the Sydney Writers Fest. So just introduced to all these incredible authors for the past 5 years, and really inspired by this pared down version of, I have a theater background. I have an MFA in theater. So I love the theatrical experience. I love to create these visually stunning environments. And I was so impressed by how women with nothing but their clothes and some chairs on a stage and their stories, how that was the most prolific live show experience I'd ever seen. I just couldn't believe the simplicity and how it was something that I felt was kind of lacking in American society. We just don't, because we come from this background of like, show, Sunday, like it's like and the Australians just have this beautiful nuanced way of like subtlety and so after Women of Letters ended, I started this show and it's it's been awesome. The support has been awesome. The turnout has been awesome. I love it. And it does kind of pair my theatricality because we are wearing red velvet cloaks. There are thousands of candles in the room. We do like lighting ceremonies, but it's the magic that we make is with our words. We are not witches, but we like to dress as them.
Which is, almost as good. But yeah, it's the theatrical part of it. I mean, I can say from the one here in LA is at the Hollywood Forever Cemetery, which is just a beautiful cemetery in and of itself.
I couldn't believe it. When I saw, I actually built this show. I'd seen some photos of a friend's show. It was a musician, and I couldn't believe that the place existed. It's built in like 1929, this Gothic Masonic lodge, and it has, it's just wrought with history. And this idea that it used to be a Masonic lodge with all of those incredible thrones that you see on stage, and the colors, the lighting designer there. I mean, they're working with, it's also simplicity. They're working with this stucco wall that they shine lights up, and they create this beautiful backdrop. It's something that is to be seen.
And there's the stained glass windows that are in there are just gorgeous. I mean, you don't see stuff like that out here in California anymore.
No, and I think also we do this on the full moon of the month. On Monday is our next one, Monday the 24th of September. There's going to be a harvest moon. I cannot wait. So you're walking into this cemetery, you're seeing a moon the size of a platter, and then you're going into this venue covered in candles, and you're getting to drink free wine. So it's like, what? For $20, that's not bad. But you don't get to drink free until the end of the show. Prior to the show, you have to pay for the wine.
Yes, exactly. Which, I mean, that's not necessarily a bad thing when it comes down to it. I mean, even still, I didn't realize when I had gone that the wine was free. Afterwards, I just went and paid for it because I was like, oh, wine. And it's not that expensive because that's pretty much how I roll. And even going into, I can speak for the theatrics of it because I went with a friend for the first time to it a few months ago. I want to say it was the April or May one that I went to.
Because we did it in New York. We actually did it in Greenwood Cemetery in New York and Brooklyn in May.
Ooh, okay. So yeah, I think it was the April one then. And she and I, it was our first time. It was so funny. Sorry, those of you watching, we got a computer thing going on here. So anyways, so we walk in and there's this beautiful chanting music in the background. There's just smoke coming up and cool, like eerie, yet comforting feel to it. And my friend Antonia, who's next to me, was like, I feel like this is meeting all of my cult needs without it actually being a dangerous cult.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, you feel like you're entering something that is a secret society that's a little bit eyes wide shut without any of the sexuality.
Yeah.
And then you recognize that it's an environment that's been created for us to connect as a human population. And the words that you hear and the stories that you hear, you must have gone to the one that was, did you go to the one with Susie Gardner from L7?
Yes.
Oh,
right.
I couldn't. Susie told this story for those of you who don't know. For those of you who don't know who Susie is this iconic, brilliant guitar player from L7 and singer. She's the founder of L7, along with Donita Sparks. And she, the first time I've heard of her, she was doing this Nirvana tour. This is the 90s, and I went and got their tape, their cassette tape. This dates me, called "Smell the Magic." They're brilliant. And it's this powerhouse female iconic punk band. And they just did this grunge rock that was just powerful. And they have a new album now. Anyway, that's really, if you don't know L7, I guess what I'm saying is go buy.
Yeah, go get L7 now.
But she told this story about how she had been raped and was going to be murdered from what she understood. And I could not, as a host of that show, I had to figure out how to compose myself enough to speak into a microphone after she got off the stage. It was just so impactful to see this iconic woman being so open about her life experience. And that's the kind of magic that happens there. It's a very intimate environment, and you're being confided to. You're being entrusted with information that you might not otherwise be entrusted if this was a television show, or it's like in the moment in this very, very beautiful space. Yeah, and I'm glad you got to see that show. That's one of my favorites. I'm watching a dog that's being a total asshole right now. Spark is a jerk. He's very sweet, but they're like children.
They are. They really are.
That you're doing something else. You're like, hey, I'm going to just quickly put him outside.
Okay. Yeah, dogs are like that. Mine, as you guys know, have a tendency to pop up during the show, and they also have a tendency. Mine are really quiet right now because we took them to the park this afternoon and just let them run in laps around the park.
I just have to show you this because, oh no, now of course he goes away. The moment I put him outside, then he's like on the door, like, how could you do this? How could you put me out here? Even though he's been crying the whole time.
Yeah. Anyway, how can you not love me?
Why am I out here by myself? That was not part of the plan.
Yeah, every now and then during the show, you see a little dog head pop up here for me. Just because she feels like she is another co-host.
They are the best co-hosts.
Yeah, they are. I love them. Especially because the fact that I can put them in a cage and go out without a sitter, and child services isn't going to come after me.
Right. They go into a little kennel. Although I have to tell you, like I do this dog watching. This is part of the glamorous thing of being a non-corporate show producer. Doing this glamorous dog watching app. So I've been taking care of dogs during the day, and I can't I didn't realize I was going to be locked into my life here. Like, I can't leave. When they're here, I'm essentially here. So it's like having a wean. I'm like having a nursing baby. But yeah, they've got a kennel, but I can't. There's something about it. Like last night even, he's supposed to sleep in the kennel. I know. I put him in there, and then I was like, oh, my heart. Come on, you can lay in my bed.
It's amazing how they do that, because when my husband and I first got dogs, because we're dachshund people. We're those people. Yeah, they're such great, annoying, and stubborn dogs, all in ones, and I love them dearly. And the first ones we got, they were puppies, and they were a set that we got. And yes, I said a set. They were a set. They came from the same breeder. And don't kill me because I went for a breeder for my first dogs around. But my husband was like, I want them to sleep in bed with me, and I was like, no, they are too little. I do not want them in bed with us until they can jump up and jump down. So my husband was like, fine. He got our college textbooks, because we had just graduated from college, and created a staircase out of our textbooks, because Lord knows we ain't using them again, so that the dogs could get up and down on the bed.
Oh my God, I love him. He's the best husband ever.
Yeah. Dogs rule our house.
But you know, I'm an animal lover, and I had a cat once where I rescued him. His name was Angus Young. He was a black cat with a deformed haunches because he'd been hit by a car. The longest pet they'd ever had not be adopted. And so I don't know. I had like a kinship with him. There was a beautiful Persian cat in his cage, and I put my hand in to touch the Persian cat, and she immediately scratched me. And then Angus came over and just put his head against my arm, and and he was mine. No joke. Because he had been in an accident, he had this little bladder issue, so he couldn't sleep in my room until he had figured out how to use the cat box. Bathroom floor with this cat, because I have problems. I don't know. Because I'm lonely, I slept on the bathroom floor with my cat. No. You know
what? I don't judge for that, because I would do the same thing for my animals. They get in there, and I think in this world, dogs and cats that can give you unconditional love.
Yes, it's true.
To it. Yeah. I remember my stepmom was like, when I was a teenager, she was like, you see all these girls who want to have children because they think they're going to give them unconditional love. And she's like, no, your brother and sister tell me they hate me every day. But you get a dog and that's the unconditional love. So they're really great. But going back to the storytelling for the show, and you see mine in the background there, making herself comfortable.
Oh, so cute.
She's so tired out, and she's covered from the park.
This is Stark. You can see him. He's very unhappy that he's outside, looking in. Oh, it's all right. I'll be over shortly.
Yeah. Don't worry. You don't have to start singing Attica, buddy.
The show, yes.
Yes. Because, we always like to trail off and then come.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all about conversations.
When you're drinking, that's how it works.
Yeah, exactly. So one of the things I love that you touch on is the power of storytelling, because I think when you look at what women are good at in general, I think storytelling is something that we excel at.
Absolutely.
And stories are where we learn. Stories are where we connect. Because, even going back in the anthropological records, we were storytellers back in the day.
True. And I think that for me, one of the other components of my life, I've always been a show creator. I've always created my own work. I've also always been a waitress. So I was a waitress for like 20 something years of my life. I started when I was 14. And what I loved is the outlet of a performance and the outlet of creating these experiences where people could, I started pairing, I have an MFA in theater. I went to London and got my bachelor's degree in theater. I actually hate theater. Sorry. I love it. I love it in my soul. But one of the things, like my own evolution, is that I do not like the pretense of the fourth wall. I do not like to have to say other people's words. I would rather have an experience that's a one-off experience. It's not going on for 20 years, where we get a moment in time together and we get to remember it for the rest of our lives. So that's been my process. I did stand-up comedy and then I started doing storytelling. And it's kind of been it's interesting how that's worked, because stand-up comedy I thought was and I love stand-up comedy, but one of the things about it, you get to connect with the audience, but stand-up comedy is a little bit about escapism, where you're going into a room to be surrounded by people and a little bit isolated in an inside joke. Storytelling is about connection. And that's one of the things right now. You'll see somebody like Hannah Gatsby. People are freaking out about Nanette, as they should be.
Yes. That was so powerful and so wonderful.
And I've been working with the Australians for 5 years now. And they have this nuanced ability to arc a show real moments, bring you into have your stomach hurt because you're laughing so hard. That's really the kind of work that I've been doing. I like to make this show where you're getting all of the elements. You will have a moment of tears streaking down your face.
Yes.
And you will have a moment of uproarious laughter. And at the end of the day, when you leave that space and you're basking in the moonlight as you're walking to your car, or the train, this experience of feeling together and connected. That is what storytelling, I think, does so well. This has been a long way around of saying that as a waitress, I've been one of the women who recently came out in the New York Times and the press, other press, 60 Minutes, speaking about the salacious and abusive behaviors of Mari Vitale and April Bloomfield and Ken Friedman. And as a waitress, I have put all of my money, all of my life into these projects. These storytelling projects, or these theatrical projects. So when that happened, and that first article came out in the Times in December, I launched this show in January. And I did it as an outlet to bring people together, both women, anyone who identifies as a woman, and allies of women, to bring them together into one space, so that we can talk about some of these through life experience, through stories. We can talk about some of these more uncomfortable topics, and do it in a way that isn't divisive.
Yes.
Because I think that one of the most, and I keep learning this experience, and actually the story I'm telling on Monday is about this. I'm so emotionally connected to my own personal experience with abuse, and with always being told that that's just the way it is, and working in a restaurant industry and being a woman and feeling like I've been wearing this metaphorical pair of tap dancing shoes my entire life, dancing around these behaviors, trying to just earn a paycheck or survive with my life, you know. I feel like I needed to create a space where it's also going to be uncomfortable for me, where I don't just get to talk without understanding that there is a recipient of that, that this is a conversation that I'm not just right and the rest of the world is wrong. Like, this is about us getting out of our corners with our arms crossed, and truly allowing for silence to end on all levels. So not just the woman's experience, and not just women. I mean, the men have experiences as well, but also allowing for the person who, because we're redefining these conversations. These are old issues. We're recontextualizing what this conversation is, the gender dynamics, how women are treated on this planet, and trying to come to a solution together. And the only way to do that, the only way to truly evolve, is to both be a part of the conversation. And so it's been hard for me to understand that this year, because it's the first time we've ever been allowed to say, you know what, I'm not okay with that. And and I thought that, you know, I was going to be shunned by society when I came out in the Times. I thought my life was over, because you don't, as a working class woman, talk about people who are running your industry without getting destroyed. So I'm so grateful that our society has embraced women actually moving through this time. But now, not but, and now, the conversation egg is opened into more of a discussion, where it's been a year now. If somebody says something to me that I'm understanding that they're trying to understand, I can't just shut down and shame them, which is sometimes my impetus because I'm speaking through emotion. So it's very complicated. We're in a very complicated time as far as gender dynamics and divisions go. And I think that storytelling is a way to connect all of us together, so that we get a sense of what this is like for individuals. And then afterwards, we all go to the Eastern Star room and continue the conversation and have wine. And I've been loving this show. I'm very, very grateful that I needed this show this year for certain.
Yeah, and the show is amazing. And I love the fact that you get cards. I actually have mine somewhere in my wallet, because I can actually walk around and be like, I'm a card-carrying feminist now, guys. This is so awesome. You get punch cards and everything, and it's somewhere in here mixed with my Rollerito and Boba card.
Yes, everybody gets a card. It just is an official, to become an official member, you get it punched. There's 12 punches. So you'll go through 12 shows, and then something look at that. I'm a feminist. Hey, look at me. In a couple years, when everyone has 12 punches, we'll do something very special. And those card-carrying members will have an experience that's free, and that will be a celebration of some kind.
Yeah, you gotta go. Gotta keep going. And the one that you have coming up on Saturday, tell us.
It's coming up on Monday.
Why am I thinking today is Saturday?
You're going on vacation.
Now it's Monday.
Your mind is in another place now.
Right? My mind is already there. Or actually, my mind, I'm thinking Saturday, because next Saturday I go on vacation. So my mind is already in vacation mode.
Monday the 24th at Hollywood Forever. Yes.
Who are some of the readers that you're going to have there this time?
Well, I'm going to have Sashir Zamata, she's somebody that used to do my crappy bar show in the East Village, and then she was on SNL for years. A brilliant woman, and she's going to be on the show. And she's done a couple of my other shows in New York, not this particular show, but other shows that I do. So I know she's a fantastic storyteller, so funny. Pleasant Gemin, she is this interesting wild card of a woman. Like, she is just this Renaissance woman who is an author. She's a punk rock historian. She moved to California in the 70s, lived at the Go-Go's house. So she's best friends with Belinda Carlisle and Jane, and they lived, it was called Disgraceland. And so she has these wild stories. She's going to be telling a story about, because Hollywood Forever, that used to be her hangout in like the 70s and early 80s. All of them would go there and smoke pot and like lay on these gravestones of the DeMilles. And she's wild. I love her. So I'm really excited about that story she's going to tell. And then Patti Chamel, she's the iconic drummer of Hole. Wrote a powerful book called Hit So Hard about addiction. And she's going to read from that book. She is incredible. Such a humble human being for having accomplished. I mean, Live Through This was one of the first albums I ever bought. I love her. And I've had her on a show before, so I know how good she is. And then we have Sarah Ben Incasa, who's this incredible author. She's written several books. She's also a humorist. Every time I see her, I burst out in tears of laughter. Like, whenever she speaks, the woman has this gift of being able to form sentences that just, you're on the floor, like holding your stomach. She is so funny. So I have a feeling it's going to be a very eclectic evening. You're going to have moments of hilarity. You're going to have moments where you feel very human, relating to another person's experience. And then for the first time, although it's not really our first time because we had one other man, we're inducting Reggie Watts into the Sisterhood, because this season I want to bring in some male allies to show this connection between all of us. And I've known Reggie. I actually met Reggie in like early the 2000s when I was in Seattle going to grad school. He lived in Seattle. And then we hung out in New York, and he became Reggie Watts. And now he's this, if you've never seen him live, I just hope that you can come and see him, because he's an improv musician, comedian. He's a genius. And what comes out of the work that comes out of his body, I've always been, from the moment we saw him perform, when he first got his first looping machine, we were like, what are you doing? And he's just a powerhouse. So I trust him. I know him well. I know that he is the right person to come into this very, very, and it's inclusive. It's not an exclusive society.
Yeah. There were men in the audience when I was there, and men are welcome.
Men are welcome, and they make up a significant part of the audience, and they reach out to me. I get these incredible emails from men who have gone to the show and say, I just want to thank you. I've never experienced anything like that, and I feel so much more connected and so much more aware of things that I might not have otherwise been aware of. So I love that we're opening the conversation for all of us. And Reggie will most likely on the show, but he'll be inducted. We also had Chris Stills. He played with Venus and the Moon. That's Frowley Hines and Rain Phoenix.
Okay.
And Chris Stills is the son of the Crosby, Stills and Nash crew. So he was on one of our shows, but as a guitarist, and he was a silent member. Reggie will be speaking. So.
Nice. So we will have the link posted so you guys can get your tickets and go. And then as we've alluded to, there's the LA show, and then there's also New York shows. When is the next New York show?
Well, the next show is going to be in 2019. We're reconfiguring the place where the place where I did the New York show. They have this incredible Gothic chapel that was created by the same designer that did Grand Central Station. So it's an old beautiful. There are pictures on my website of that and on Facebook of that experience. It's this incredible cemetery, Greenwood Cemetery, and the chapel is Gothic and it's under construction. And I'm such a loyalist that, like, if I want to create an experience, I want it to be a very specific thing, and I'm not willing to compromise. So I'm like, well, I could go and do it in a theater, but no.
We have to have our values, and we've got to stick to our values no matter how small they may be.
Like, I want to bring the most incredible, I want you to go to the show and recognize that it's actually an experience and it's an event, and it's not a straightforward, like, you're an audience. We are performers. Like, that's not it. It is.
Yeah. And it doesn't feel like that. I mean, it feels like you're in a sisterhood. Really, that's the only thing I can, put down with it is, cliche as it may sound, because it's the secret society of the sisterhood. It's still you're there, and it feels very much on the equal ground, and especially with the laughter and the in between, the medicine and the laughter. It's it's very connecting. I mean, I felt connected to the person that I didn't know sitting next to me. And it was funny because as we were walking out from after the show was over, this girl behind us was just like, that was so amazing. That this is my church now. I don't need to go to any other church. This is my church.
We are not a cult, just to make this clear. But it does feel a little bit like church. Like, it does feel a little bit, I mean, there are, I come from a Christian background, a baptized Christian, but like not a practicing Christian. But I feel like I'm a spiritual, although I say I'm not a practicing Christian, I've been thinking a lot about this. All of the values of Christianity, I do practice. Like, I do practice. I believe in being a good human being and doing things that make this a better place for all of us to live in, and not being discriminatory and not being judgmental. Like, all of the things I think, if this all was the way that it was written, which we all know it kind of wasn't, but I think Christ would really very much like this environment.
Yes, I agree. Yeah,
this
I'm speaking to the choir for ex-Christianity, because I grew up in the world of Mike Pence.
Oh,
yeah, that kind of Christianity. So yeah,
we went to the Crystal Cathedral, so we saw the wall, the $1 million wall of glass open up, and like the fountains, like the theatrical Christianity. That's what my background is.
And then you went into theater.
Thanks, Robert Schuller. Yeah, no, but I do love that feeling that there is this. You feel like you're, without being preached to, you're going into this environment of like, well, how can I leave here and be a better person? What can I do that will make it not about myself, that will make it about somebody else's experience? And then you have this full moon, and you do kind of feel like you're being baptized as it washes over you at the end of this show, and you feel like this is a new month, because we were attempting to do them on every full moon. It's a very expensive show to produce. So as I was like, how many dogs can I watch to make this happen? I started getting into like, you have to watch 40 dogs a day. I can't.
I was gonna say, we already covered you love dogs, maybe.
But yes, but I love that the audience feels like we are connecting together. We're going inside ourselves. We're thinking of what it is to be a human being, and we're relating to these experiences, because even though the stories are different, the topics that thread humanity together are the same. It's love, it's loss, it's triumph and tragedy. You're hearing versions of your own story, and I think that is very, very comforting. To know that you're not alone. And that's what I want people to feel when they leave that experience, to think, I am surrounded by my sisters and my brethren, and I am not alone in this experience. We're all in this together. So that's that show.
And that's wonderful. And that's why we're huge supporters of the show. Why I'm like, I got to get Trisha on. I got to get somebody on. Because it's having that feeling of coming together, because we don't have that enough, especially in this country right now. We're so ready to just tear each other's throats out over the slightest thing.
Right. We're all standing in our corners. And this is like creating spaces where you can have an opposing opinion. You can come out and have an opposing opinion that is an opinion where you're wanting to understand the other side.
Mm-hmm.
We can't just do this anymore. Stand in our corners with our arms crossed, because we're not getting anywhere.
We're hiding behind our computers too.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that is a whole other beast for certain.
Yes, and the trolls. I still remember our first troll. Bless his little heart. Well, Turkey, wherever you are, we still love you. And, it's been a while, but I figured now's the time. For our Feminist Forecast, we had to do that for a while. Trump is still in office. And I think we've got some strong gusts coming in from the West Coast, just moving east, I think. Maybe a little bit of ray of some feminist sunshine coming.
I like that forecast. Yes, I feel like it's like a very slow moving storm.
Absolutely.
But it is moving.
So thank you so much for joining us. We are at our half an hour. Because it's a special episode, we were a little shorter than normal because we're not talking about our book of the month. But guys, keep reading that. We will have Sally on the show, Sally Koslow, because our book of the month is Another Side of Paradise, which, speaking of old Hollywood, this book, a lot of old Hollywood, which is super awesome. I went on a whole research binge on the Garden of Allah, which comes up in this book. Yes, that has.
Quickly say that if you come on Monday, we partner with Skylight People. I'm so grateful that you exist.
I love Skylight books.
Yes.
In fact, I picked up 2 books when I was there. I picked up The Feminine Mystique, which, I feel like I still need to read that. That was like, okay, this is one of my required reading textbooks that I'm actually going to read and learn from. And then I also picked up Wings versus the World.
Love it.
I love that book. That was such a good book.
So good. Well, thank you again for having me. I really appreciate this.
Yes, it was a pleasure. So guys, check out our Facebook page. Check out the Secret Sisterhood Society Facebook page. We'll have links to them so you guys can go check it out. Get your tickets. You may just see me there, and you can see Trisha there and all of her other wonderful guests. So thank you so much, and we're going to have you back on soon. I think in January when the society starts up again.
Absolutely.
Yes, and we'll have another chat, and we'll make sure that Michelle's not off playing Cinderella. She's at a ball today, so that's why she couldn't be here.
Well, I mean, you have
it's a good excuse.
When a ball calls, you got to go.
Hopefully, she'll post some pictures of the gorgeous dress that she got. Her husband's in the Navy, so it's the khaki ball that she's going to. So.
Oh my gosh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, so her dress is awesome, and she's going to look gorgeous in it, and so I'm happy for her, but we'll have to have you come on when she's on the show, too, because she's living vicariously through me, because you guys aren't in Chicago yet. That's why we got to build up your fan base, so you can also do Chicago.
Yes, we are planning on doing a national tour. We will go out there.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, and have a wonderful day, everybody.